always like having the smooth bucket, like the 36-inch smooth bucket on this machine. We do normally have a tooth bucket associated with it, the 24-inch. It's just really hard. You can't really fit a lot in there, so I typically like to use the larger, smoother bucket. You don't dig in near as much. Even when I'm loading something like this is just pretty thick gravel. Actually, I think I got to turn the knobs on this, so gotta watch how that's done on these new machines. Just turn them sideways. It has the flow going, so it goes to one or the other. It's kind of nice, so you don't have to disconnect the hoses for the thumb. So yeah, we're back in action. So one thing that's really important is this is a public street, and I really have to pay attention. I can't just let it rip. I have a chunk bounce out, and maybe there's someone walking on the side of the truck that I don't see, and it's a super dangerous situation. So when you're going pretty much on any, even if you're flat, it's so much nicer to have the dozer blade down. It stabilizes the machine so much. If you don't put it down, this thing just bounces around like crazy. Even on the bigger machines, they bounce around less, but the smaller machines like the 35 and 25, they're pretty rough. So it's just nice for the stability. So I busted all this out yesterday. It's this whole job here. They just kept pouring concrete over it. There's about like 4 layers of different slabs, and I've never ceases to amaze me what you find in these old homes in Pittsburgh here. It's just it's pretty neat, but it's also frustrating at times. The slab, or the steps that they had were just it was just concrete and brick and like whatever they could find. So yeah, something like this you got to be careful with. You got stuff hanging over. It's just a good operator knows when to slow down. This is not a job to be rushing around like a maniac. I don't want stuff spilling all over the neighbors, and because they have a nice mulch bed right there, and pretty much everyone hates us just because we come in and we take over a half a city block when we get our permits and block stuff in. So you don't want to be upsetting people any more than it's absolutely necessary. You got to watch when you're curling the bucket up like this. You really got to watch there's not a piece of rebar sticking up. If you curl it up and the piece of rebar hits, there's a couple little weak spots on that thumb. The I can't think of what it's called. The hydraulic cylinder on the thumb, and like right where the fittings mount. And if you bend that a little bit and it starts spraying fluid, you got to replace the entire cylinder. Like, cause it's not worth. I don't even think you can rebuild it at that point. At least that's what we were told, and it cost $800, and that was a couple years ago. So it's definitely worth slowing down. I've hit them with a tree branch, so you do have to pay attention to that stuff. So this is coming up pretty nice. sometimes you got to fight with it. The stuff against the house I'm going to have a little bit more trouble with. So trying to get the easy pickings right now. So, and I use the thumb. I used to use a machine without a thumb, and once I got used to using the thumb, I don't think I'll ever go back. It just, if you can see what I'm doing here, just I'm using that to keep the stuff so I don't keep dragging it towards me, and then eventually my tracks will get buried, and then I can't really scoop, then I got to move. Just digging some concrete. If I didn't have the thumb right here, that whole pile right I'm grabbing right now would just all be spilled all the way up. So this is a little sketchy one right here. I got to go slow. I think this top piece might come off. It looks like for a wire mesh they actually used chicken wire, so it's pretty amazing what I don't know if do-it-yourselfers or what the skill level was that put this in, but it's definitely interesting. We don't do a lot of concrete, but we wouldn't do it like that. I will possibly switch to the tooth bucket once I get closer to the house, just so I can have more of a claw action. But even then, I can fit so much in this bucket compared to the 24-inch. So it's just really nice having this. The other nice thing is when you're scraping materials and stuff, working out of the back of the truck, just having the flat blade on here, you can get really close as opposed to otherwise with the teeth. They take up like 3 inches. So I've done a lot of damage with the tooth bucket that wasn't really expected. So I am getting slightly more aggressive than I normally would. No one's here yet for our job. The truck's still pretty empty, so if the truck was full and you got to worry about stuff bouncing out, that affects how hard you can push too and how fast you can go. So if this looks slow and boring, just know that I have several thousand hours of experience, and I know when to slow down. I could definitely go a lot faster, but there's no reason to go faster just to end up causing a bigger problem. Someone coming around the corner. He's still at the corner. I'm gonna get out and check and see what this thing is. It's just a piece of siding. I couldn't really tell. Morning, buddy.
I have the wheelbarrow right there full of stuff, so I'm going to be...
All right.
As soon as I go by the truck, I'll be coming right back up.
Okay. See, Angelo knows he pretty important for safety. I don't know if you could hear that or not, but he told me he's coming right back up with the wheelbarrow on the side to watch out for him. So I want everyone getting home every night. I don't want to have to make any very uncomfortable phone calls. So it's, guys, we wear hard hats when we're doing jobs like retaining walls, when we're working with the excavator, anything that's kind of working overhead, and they don't typically like wearing them. But sorry, I'm such a jerk that I want everybody to to make it home. So. I want like eye contact, you know, when they're walking behind the machine. I've had, especially new guys, but like guys run behind the machine thinking I'm paying attention or something and just walking casually, and like I had absolutely no idea. So you get something like this, and let's say you're lifting over a car or something kind of sketchy, just make sure to work it into the bucket, and it's a lot safer the way I have it. This didn't fall quite the way I wanted, but it's in there and it's safe. I see them. So, beep the horn, let them know I saw them. So, I realized I say so a lot. Now you got to watch when you're swinging back over. Make sure that bucket's empty. You don't want to be dropping something. This particular scenario, I'd just be dropping it on another pile of rocks, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you're swinging over and you got stuff in the way, and yeah, I don't know if you can see that. He's Mr. Potato Head or something. We've been finding a lot of interesting toys and stuff on this job. So it's we're urban archaeologists. That's what we do. One thing I don't like doing is I don't like leaving giant chunks of concrete laying against the wood on the sideboards of the truck. I don't want to ask those pieces of wood. They're a few years old. They're in good shape, but I still don't want to trust them completely. I don't want that wood being asked to hold several hundred pounds, and I don't want to end up on the news being down the highway or whatever. I don't want to be leaving a dump site and have stuff in the way. Man, he got more marbles and everything. That's a lot of marbles.
Find the marbles.
That's a lot of marbles.
It's been like 20.
Yeah. He saves the marbles and pretty rocks for my daughter, so he knows I'll collect them for that reason. He's an artist, so he collects a lot of junk, stuff that I think's junk, but he says, wait till you see what I do with this. So I'm still waiting. It's been about 4 years and I still haven't seen anything yet. He's a patient artist. Yeah, he's the one filming some of our videos and stuff. He sees the camera. He knows what's happening. This is way too sketchy to try and dump. Sometimes you're swinging the other way the truck's facing almost the other way. You don't want to be swinging big stuff like that over your cab. I mean, maybe you don't care. Maybe your truck would look better if a giant rock landed on it, but I doubt that. Most guys have pretty nice trucks these days. You don't see a lot of those beaters anymore like you used to 20 years ago. But yeah, so right now I'm just trying to get a load of this stuff. Concrete. This particular dump site, they don't necessarily care if it's separated. They're just using it to fill up an area. But I don't want to start digging just yet. But I might end up starting to dig. When you're loading the truck too, if you're combining concrete and dirt and whatever, it's always a good idea to try and start with the biggest stuff you can, because you don't want to have a bunch of dirt on there and then throw a giant chunk of concrete on top of that. It's not going to be very stable. So this is a little bit sketchy going next to the house. That foundation, it's all sandstone. It's starting to delaminate. It's not looking super good. So we're gonna do all that we can, just try and clean out with a screwdriver the bad stuff and jam it with mortar. And we're gonna build our stuff right in front of it. So go slowly. Thought I was getting close to a full load, but this concrete fills it up so quick. But you can fit quite a bit more on with concrete because you have so much airspace. You do want to make sure you have the right size truck too. We use F550, and we do it so we can fit the most on there. I don't want. You shouldn't be using a half-ton truck, but a 1-ton truck, like literal 3,500 dump truck, to be hauling out walls and pavers. You're legal. We had one of those. We were legal at 1.5 tons, so that was not very efficient. So. We like this particular truck, the 550. I mean, if the F600 would have been available when we got this, I would have got that, because you get an extra, I forget how many ton. It's 22,000 pounds, so you get it. You add a little bit of weight, so you can haul legally an extra ton. I can haul with this. I can haul I think it's about 4.5 ton, and then you get 3% extra. Usually they're supposed to give you 3%, so I'm legal at about 4.75 ton. That's pushing it. Then after that I'm going to get a ticket, but I try not to load it all the way up. It's nice. It's nice not having to worry about passing a DOT stop, because those guys, the DOT police officers, they know trucks better than you do. So they know the weights, they know what guys are trying to hide. It's kind of pretty impressive when you talk with those guys, and they're usually not out there just to bust your chops. They're out there to make the road safe, because I personally appreciate it. I'm one of the few guys that would actually say that, but my family drives all the same roads that I do, so I don't want my family, and I definitely, don't want another family being on the news because I was irresponsible. So and one tip is if you're just starting out and you're not really sure of DOT regulations or something, call your local DOT officer, call the state trooper, call somebody. But you want to find out. You want to find out if you're legal, and it's been my experience that those ladies and gentlemen are more than willing to help you. They don't want to give you tickets. They're just as happy to write you warnings. They're not even warnings, but they're just as happy to say no violations on a thing. They just have to prove that they're doing something. They just got to stop a certain amount of trucks each day. They don't get rewarded for more money. They get rewarded just for actually stopping and making sure that they're inspecting vehicles like they're supposed to. So it's really important. You definitely want to have safe stuff, but you also want to know the laws, and it's not easy because there's so much information. You're not going to get good information talking with other guys. You're not. You're going to get some really bad information. Hearsay is not legal advice, so I wouldn't recommend to doing it that way. So kind of running out of easy stuff to dig here. Trucks starting to get in the way. Gotta watch I don't bust out my tail light here, or not my tail light, but my reflector. I do keep an extra reflector in the truck just in case something happens and it gets bumped or cracked or whatever. If I would get stopped, then I have and they say something's wrong with my deflector. Actually, I think I just broke one. Then I can just throw one on to try and make it legal. So yeah, that's either mud or I cracked it. So talking about watching it, and I didn't watch it. Flew too close to the sun. So I don't know if anyone wants to see this or not, so I'm gonna put it out there, just kind of show what we do and show who we are, and probably just as importantly, show who we are not. We are not the guy in a pickup truck who's gonna come and try and do a job like this all by hand. And that doesn't mean you have to own all of your own stuff. This machine right here is a rental. We did have one of these as a 2-year lease, and we sent it back. And sent it back because didn't know how much we would use it, and we also had a track loader lease payment, and we didn't want to be equipment poor. We wanted to make sure that we had the right equipment for each job, and it really bothered me that when we were in the wintertime to look outside and to see 2 machines I'm making payments for, and we're not actually doing anything. Sitting down for the winter, and then it feels like you have to work because you have all these payments. So we've had it both ways. We've had like no business debt, and we've had a bunch. Right now we have some. I would strongly recommend trying to do it as little, if not none, as possible. I am a proponent of buying newer stuff. I don't really like mechanic work. I can do it. I can change changed quite a bit of stuff on an old Bobcat track or skid steer, and I don't like it because it's now I'm giving up my weekends and trying to pretend to be a mechanic. And the thing is, when you do that stuff, you need to, if you're doing your own maintenance and your own repairs, you absolutely better be charging and paying yourself a wage for that, because you'd be paying somebody else. So just, you need to understand how that works. You're not saving any money by using really old beat up crap and then constantly having to fix it. When that stuff's down, it doesn't help, and then you get frustrated and get emotional, and then you buy something you didn't need. So it's one thing that we've done successfully recently within the last few years is taking the emotionality out of, I don't know if that's a word or not, but we've taken the emotional part away from equipment. We try and say, is this pride? Is there a reason specifically why I want this particular piece of equipment? And sometimes it's, yeah, like you just want to look cool, you know. It's, you see other guys and they're using equipment that's a lot nicer and newer than yours, and it's just, you gotta pay attention to what you're really what your real motivations are. You don't want to be trapped into something that you're going to regret. This stuff is not cheap in the slightest, and you don't want to be stuck. You don't want to be stuck in a bad situation. Part of our situation was I thought I had a medical issue and thought I was going to end up not being able to physically work anymore, and so it's like, yeah, I really don't want to sign up for more debt, and if I can't physically do this, then I got to switch line of a career. Then how am I going to pay all this stuff off? And you could say that you could sell it, but you're definitely not going to sell it for what you paid for it, despite what you think. Even though the market is hot for all this stuff right now, you're still not going to sell it for what you think. So there's Tommy. He's a new guy. I didn't see him. Yeah, so we're going to have a little talk. Uh-oh. Track stuck. These machines get a little bit, the only thing I don't like about having the windows on here is, like, right now I'm catching some serious glare, and it's kind of hard to see at certain angles, so that does not help anything. But I'm afraid of, like, this isn't our machine, but if and when we get another excavator, I'm afraid of tinting the windows, because I don't want to have struggling low light situations like when we're working in the winter time. So, and it's Pittsburgh, so the sun doesn't shine a whole lot. So this is usually a good problem to have. It's tough on a new operator. It's really tough. I know Angelo, when he was kind of learning, there's certain things that he couldn't do trying to load the truck because of the sun glare, and this stuff's kind of fun to do, but it's very dangerous at the same time. So you need to we're the opposite. If you're going to watch our videos, we're slow and methodical. We're not go go go. It's not. This job is not. I'm not going to say this job is easy money. This is hard. This is difficult. To do it right, we're doing this job. We're putting in geogrid. It's a wall that's less than 4 foot. We're still putting in geogrid. We have an engineer. This is stuff that most people are not doing, and it's not overkill. It's when you talk to the manufacturer, when you talk to Versalock, that's what they actually recommend. If this is supporting a load, and this is supporting a load. We got giant steps coming down, so there's a patio going on top of here. You want to make sure you do this stuff right. So we're going to be completely different. Anybody you're going to see, I've never seen anybody that's more methodical. It just, we're slow and steady. We're definitely the tortoise in this in the YouTube or whatever, Instagram space, whatever it is. So it's not flashy. We could definitely, I understand how guys get a lot of views, and I don't really like that, and I'm not going to allow myself to do it. I don't want to put out stuff that I don't like. So some of this stuff, it's going to get better. Our first videos were really bad, and our ones now are getting a lot less bad. But we're moving in the right direction. But I also don't want to move in a certain direction. So we're going to be different. That's our goal. That's our promise to you. Is we're going to be different. Not for different sake. We're going to be different because we are different people. We're weird. We call our one channel the Hardscape Nerds because we're nerds. We love this stuff. My wife and I, this is what we do, and we love having in-depth discussions with people in the industry and learning more advanced stuff than just use open grade for everything. It's like, no, that's not the solution to everything. So you got to pay attention to where stuff's draining out. So I know I'm kind of rambling. I feel like I should be talking, so it's just random talking. But I'm also sharing who we are. When you're excavating, when you're unsure, if you're new and you're unsure what piece of equipment to get, I would say if you're primarily doing retaining walls, in my opinion, the best piece of equipment is an excavator. If you're primarily doing backyard patios, then you want a track loader. The reason for the excavator is you can be a lot more precise with it. You can swing block into place. We use our block clamp all the time. It's so important to me that I actually have a backup one that's several years old. It's brand new. It was just in case I ever broke the other one because I did not want to be without it for one day. That's how important that thing is to us. Even on a small job like this, we're still going to be swinging block. That's the way. I'll use a track loader to run it up here, and that's it. So, all right. I think I got a full truck. I can fit one or two more. Another tip: if you're new, go to some place that has a scale. You can even go to like cat scales. They're pretty easy to set up, and if you go there and get your weight, get your unladen weight, that means unloaded, how you would normally have it. If you have toolboxes and you keep tools in them and whatever, put the tools you would normally have, just and then get your empty weight with a full tank of gas, approximately a full tank of fuel, and then you get your weight, so now you know how much you can put in there. That helps. And then when you go to places that actually weigh you, there's probably a supply yard or two in your area that actually works off of scales where you can they'll tell you to the pound almost how much you weigh when you leave. So if you load, let's say you can haul 4 ton legally, load up 4 ton, get the exact amount, and then take a picture and see what that looks like. So you should know what that is, how much that is for your truck. So you're not, especially like for new drivers, it's hard to tell. I mean, I've been doing this for a really long time, and I still, sometimes I could be 1,000 pounds off, 2,000 pounds off, you know. I get a pretty good idea. But like right now, I'm probably full. I don't think I'm overloaded in any stretch, but it's just something good to know that you want to definitely be aware of. So yeah, that last one banged against the sideboard, so not banged, but it's resting against there. So I'm going to move it just because it's going to bother me. I don't want that weight against there. So that's it for now. And yeah, I'm going to run this load.